and welcome to Drones for Good from Modus, where we chat with industry insiders about drones, LiDAR, mapping, and geospatial technology, and how all of that is changing the world around us. Today, I'm chatting with Paul Spaur from the Spaur Group. Hi, Paul. Great to have you on the show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
No worries at all. Thank you so much for being here. So, Paul, we're going to jump straight in. Tell us a little bit about what the Spaur Group does.
Great. Well, so the Spaur Group is a company that is formed of many different consultants from the mapping, geospatial, information technology, and also LiDAR and photogrammetry realms. And so a bunch of really technical words for using the very simple description of we do mapping. So the Spaur Group has a number of consultants. We typically will work with small to medium businesses and kind of help them integrate map technology, and also they can call us when they're in a pinch if they need some help. But the new thing that we're doing is we're actually developing a brand new software platform called Metageo.
Okay, now tell me about that. I was just about to come to your new bit of kit. Tell us how it works.
Yeah, so Metageo is a brand new geospatial, which is again, technical word for mapping platform. And it takes data from multiple sources, whether it's your mobile phone, a LiDAR scanner from the sky, self-driving cars, IoT sensors, anything that has a map location or a location tag with it. We could take that data and bring it into one digital world, kind of like Google Earth. We take that, we put it into the real world in 3D, and then we can then take that data that's been processed into super streamable content and stream it to devices such as augmented reality glasses, virtual reality glasses, or even augmented or virtual reality on your phone.
So tell me, first of all, how this even came about. What was the origin of this piece of technology to start with?
Yeah, so my career started actually as a flight paramedic. I was on a helicopter in the Bay Area, and unfortunately I had to medically retire from jumping out of helicopters. And so I went back to university and studied earth biology. And so I did a lot of mapping, a lot of characterization of coastal areas using LiDAR and photogrammetry. And so from there, I went on to work for a number of different companies doing that. And during COVID, we all kind of had a great reset where everybody's kind of plans got upended and things changed. And that's when I decided to form the Spaur Group. And so Spaur Group has been a company that's been providing services for about 1.5 years, 2 years now. And Metageo is kind of a culmination of all my experience from doing search and rescue, from helping people, but also bringing. And so the origin story on Metageo is I was actually called to do a search and rescue for a lost young boy. And I was working with a bunch of volunteers and also the standard search and rescue teams. And the standard search had concluded, but people wanted to keep going. There was a really big movement about this. There was thousands of people who wanted to help look for this lost young boy. And so people were going out with drones and kind of flying them everywhere and just searching. And I got called in to kind of help bring some order to chaos. And so I was able to kind of formalize the search plans with all the people who are volunteering and work with the search and rescue teams that were wrapping up there. And so one of the things I realized is it's really hard to have data from multiple different sources and disseminate that to people who need it in the field. So if you have dozens of drones, we actually had helicopters and airplanes all collecting data where it was then reviewed by people and AI algorithms to help search for potential locations. Like all this is super technical, and there's no real good path to have all these things kind of collaborate together. And what we found is people, when you try to give them map data and they're not experts in it, they have no idea how to interact with it. And so I was thinking to myself, you know, we have tons of data that needs to go from the office to the field. We have people who aren't exactly experts that need to leverage this data. And so that's where Metageo was born, is because there's so many different data types that are really complicated, really heavy, really difficult to get to those who need it. And so I wanted to break down those barriers by making a platform where you can put any kind of location-based data into it, and then not be a PhD in mapping and be able to access it on your mobile device. And with the advent of kind of the metaverse and extended and augmented virtual reality, we could take this, and so say if there was somebody that was searching for a potential location where somebody could be, you could use your phone and it could actually show you a point on your phone in real life where you should go, versus having to understand how to read a map, how to find your direction by compass. We want to simplify all that. And it's really nice because it actually translates into a lot of different industries, because it'll work well with construction. If you have plans and you have workers that need to understand, where a building's supposed to go, where pipes are supposed to go, where a material is supposed to be removed or moved to, we don't have to have them be experts. The experts can still be there and managing all the three-dimensional map data, but then you can disseminate it in an easy way into any device.
So I just wanted to ask you about this, because all of this sounds revolutionary. It really does. But how simple is this to use for someone who isn't an expert in mapping and all the other things that you've mentioned?
Well, so I mentioned it's kind of like Google Earth, and just about everyone has picked up their phone and found a restaurant in their pocket on their mobile device. I want it to be that easy. With the kind of more complex things, like there's architectural models, BIM, those sorts of things. Of course, you will absolutely have to have experts who are the ones that are managing that in the office, but then you can have it displayed to those who need it in the field without having to have it super complex. And that's kind of the downfall of a lot of current map platforms, is you have to be kind of an expert to be able to use the platforms themselves.
This one sounds like it's much more user-friendly, particularly for people that may not be experts in that field. Paul, I wanted to ask you, you mentioned right at the beginning of the interview that your background initially was as a paramedic.
Yep.
And I just wanted to speak to you about how your background and all the experience that you've accumulated over the years, how has that fed into this and kind of what you're doing right now?
Well, my passion is first to help people. And now with all of the things I've been doing over the past years is to use technology to do that. And really, that's kind of how all of my background plays into this. I feel like technology has the capability of really pushing the human race to the next level. And I think that we could use this technology to do a lot of good. And so that's kind of the motto that I follow, is let's do this and do it for good reason.
How do you think that Metageo is going to change things, change how we kind of live our lives, basically, but in particular geospatial information and that area?
Well, I think what Metageo really will do with the industry is kind of bridge a lot of gaps that exist. It's not going to be a replacement for very sophisticated data science tools, at least not right now. That will have its place, but what Metageo will serve as a connector of those super powerful big data analytics going to the people who need them. So really, it's breaking down that barrier between boots on the ground and kind of the analytics in the sky.
What is your vision for Metageo? Where would you like to see it go from here?
So I'd really love to see Metageo building a large data set from multiple different devices, being able to combine, I mentioned cell phone, mobile data, self-driving cars, all these different sources of data, and then making it available to the future metaverse platforms. And we talk a lot about the metaverse in my world, but it's really not built yet. And the way that I see it is that it's going to be a combination of multiple three-dimensional platforms in a way that people can interact with both the real built environment, but also the digital kind of Web3/meta environment. And I really see Metageo as being kind of the go-between between the real life and the metaverse. And the way I like to describe it is we live in a world where there's data, location-based data all around us. It's like a layer of information on top of what we can see. Now with the advent of virtual and extended and augmented reality devices, we can use those as looking glasses into that digital world where you could walk up to a house, you could say, oh, this is the address because I pulled the record from the city or the county database. I walked up to my favorite restaurant and, oh, there's a menu in front of me. I can look and I can make my order or see if this is the restaurant that I want to eat at today. So there's all this information that exists. And that's kind of how I see the future of the metaverse is having additional information on top of the world that we already have, whether it be to augment what we have or to actually create completely new experiences.
On the flip side of that, Paul, is there any part of you that's concerned that it could be misused in some way?
Yeah, so the concept of Web3, the third coming of the internet, so to speak, is that there is going to be a very large emphasis, or there is a very large emphasis on decentralization. And so much like with cryptocurrencies, you think about Bitcoin and all these other big cryptocurrencies. Well, a lot of the times when you think about those, at least in the early days, you think of people that are doing things that they probably don't want others knowing that they're doing with money. So there might not be the most honest uses going on there, but that's not always the case. I feel like that's the same with anything. People have a tool, it could be used to do a job or it could be used to hurt somebody. I think that Web3 will have, of course, and in the metaverse, will have things that are not exactly what people would like or for the best of intentions. But I think that just like with life, we as humans self-regulate. We have our society and there's things that are acceptable and things that are not. But then there's also policing. There's policing of established rules. But with the decentralization, it does become a little bit more difficult to police. And so really, I don't know how it's going to shake out. But I think, and I want to hope that it will probably have a little bit of a Wild West phase, but then it will kind of come to more of a societal and even playing field where people use it for really good purposes, but there's always going to be people who kind of go against that.
Absolutely. Well, listen, Paul, thank you so much for your time today. And if
Absolutely.
People want to find out more about what it is that you do, how can they get a hold of you?
Yeah, so for drones and for mapping and consulting, there's Spaur Group, that's spaurgroup.com. And then for Metageo, that's metageo.io.
Okay, that's fantastic. Well, Paul, thanks so much again for chatting with me today. I'd love to get you back on the show at some stage and we'll have a catch up and see where you're at with this fantastic bit of technology. It really is. So exciting times ahead, I'm sure. And if you've enjoyed today's interview with Paul Spaur, then why not hit that subscribe button, because then you can be the very first to watch and view all of our latest content. Well, thanks again for watching Drones for Good today, and I'll see you next time.